My name is J.D. Baker. I'm an Oklahoma City native. I always say I'm a sixth-generation Oklahoma Cityan. Family goes pretty far back in this city. And I'm currently special assistant to the Oklahoma City mayor. I'm helping the mayor advance his agenda to better enhance the city through a lot of his initiatives and stuff. So I can get a lot of various projects of anything, whether it might be research into particular issues, whether it might be compiling all the maps for ideas together in a list, whether it's constituent correspondence, a lot of different things, but really just helping the mayor be able to serve the city better. How did I get here? Man, this might sound cliche, but I just feel blessed. I just kind of stumbled into this opportunity. I've been, like I said, I'm born and raised here, and I've always loved the city. I've always been interested in journalism and politics, which everyone knows that those go very close hand in hand. And so during my time at OU, when I was an undergrad, I ran to be Student Government Association president, and I won. I served a whole year. And so with that comes with a certain level of exposure to different people and different ideas, especially other leaders around the Norman and the state and stuff. And so I met David Holt when I was still student body president, and we followed each other back on Twitter and everything. And I've always enjoyed watching him and his career, because one thing I believe in so much is government transparency. You know, I just believe that's just something I've always believed in. Maybe that's the journalism side of me. And so, so that was one thing I admired him when he was a state senator. So kept in touch with him. I was really excited when he was running for mayor. I remember about a year ago to the day, or I guess 366 days ago, when, you know, it was right at 10 p.m. and the Thunder game had just finished, and he got up on stage and he thanked all of his supporters and voters for electing him as the new mayor of Oklahoma City. And so from that point on, I was excited. And last summer, I reached out to him and said I would love to get together just to get lunch. Not thinking, you know, I was looking for other jobs and other opportunities. I just want to have lunch with the mayor. But by the end of it, you know, we began conversations about me working in his office. And that's just kind of how I end up here. And so it's nothing short of a blessing, I tell people. So, you know, I was one of those students in my undergrad years voicing and talking about these things and having these conversations. I think race is just something OU has to reckon with. I even wrote a local commentary piece for non-doc media recently. It's just something. It's time to, you know, reveal the truth and deal with it and come to terms with it. And I think it is it's not the student's responsibility to fix it. They are bringing this issue up, and they brought it under the last president, and they brought it under this president. And it's time for the administration to take up this mantle and say, we are going to address this as aggressively as we can. And I think when those students had that rally several weeks ago, and they were yelling, the one that was very intensified, it wasn't about necessarily the blackface incident. It's more about the administration's response. They want to feel that their administration cares, and that they hear them, and that they see them, and that they're actively and aggressively working towards solutions to alleviate the stress and alleviate the lack of safety on the campus. I faced different instances of racism personally in my time in college. So it's not an isolated thing, it's an everyday thing. And as some people say, you know, you definitely, as a person from a marginalized group, you deal with microaggressions every day. So it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. Yes, it might seem small, but you're dealing with this every single day. It really takes a toll on you. And then when you have administration that seems slow or apathetic, or seems to not understand, you know, the actual problem, it's infuriating, you know, it's upsetting. And so I say more power to the students. I'm really proud of them for standing up and saying how they feel and what they believe, because, you know, I think James Baldwin that says, you know, nothing can be changed unless you face it, you know. And so you have to, so they are pushing the administration to face it. And I hope that those university leaders, those who are paid by taxpayers and by those students, are really listening, and they're wanting to make those changes. And I think it should come from all the way to the top, especially whether it's the governor, the board of regents, to the president, and to all the other administrators in the university. I think it should be a collective effort to better the student experience, because we know colleges and universities are more diverse than they've ever been, and we don't make sure it's important to make sure that everyone has an inclusive safe environment to learn. You know, a person shouldn't worry about, how they're going to be mistreated because of their race, their gender, their sexuality, and they shouldn't be worried about that based on how a professor may treat them, or a staff member, or another student, or peer-to-peer. So we just had, I think, more power to the students. I'm just really proud of them. It's a beautiful thing, man. I think it's great. This city is diverse. It is, but its power structure hasn't always been diverse, and so I think that's something that is changing. I think people are recognizing that we want to make sure that more people of more different groups are represented and that their voices are heard, and the voters spoke. And I think that's the best thing about it is these races recently, they've had diverse candidates in these races, whether, men, women, straight, gay, black, white, or other races. We had diverse candidates in these races, and and the voters spoke on those candidates. So I think that's the best thing. That's the beautiful thing about democracy. When diverse individuals have access to opportunity, I think, and people will speak, and it will reflect that. So it's a really exciting time for our council and our city, and I just encourage people to stay engaged, because that's the only way things are going to continue to get better. A rock star. No,
do you play musical instruments?
Huh? I do play piano, but no, I don't want to. No, I don't want to do that. I honestly, I don't necessarily have career goals. It's more about purpose. I want to serve others, whether that might be in a private capacity or a public capacity, whether that might be, I want to help find solutions to problems that are facing our city. I told someone the other day, I really don't think I'll ever leave the city. If I do, it'd be for a brief moment, because this is my home, this is where I was born, and this is where I plan on dying. But I want to make sure that it is a better place by the day I die than it was the day I was born. And so I just want to serve in some type of way to just make our community better. So what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be living in a better, brighter, more beautiful Oklahoma City in Oklahoma. And this might sound like a political answer, but I'm being serious. Unless a leader has vision, they're not a leader. If you don't have vision, you're not a leader. It's something I believe you have to have a vision in order to lead others. And so I will never run for any elected office or even been in any leadership position unless I have a vision. So I'm not ruling out, but I'm only 23, going on 24 years old, and I got at least another 40 years before I can actually, One thing I probably didn't mention, my minor's in African American studies, so Black studies is near and dear to my heart. So Black History Month, Black history is American history, it's world history. And so I think it should be celebrated in many ways. I think people should embrace it of all kinds. It's not just for Black people to celebrate ourselves, which is a beautiful thing. I think we should. But I think it's also time for us to also realize that Black history is a part of all of our history, and to recognize that. I think it's about understanding the dignity and the incredible resilience of African Americans in this country. Despite all the 400 years, we've been here 400 years since the ships came here, and so despite all the hardships and slavery and Jim Crow and everything in this country, despite all that we have continued to stay strong and grow and thrive as American citizens. And so I think it's a beautiful thing. So I think we should celebrate that. We should celebrate the resilience, and we should celebrate the excellence, and we should celebrate the contributions that Black people have brought to this country. We're just as much as anyone else a part of this country. So I think it's just recognizing that. And I think Black History Month, or what originally started as Negro History Week in the 1920s by Carter G. Woodson, I think the whole purpose was so that we understood our own history and we took pride in that. And now I think we're at a step where so many of us do take pride in that. Well, let's share that. Let's share why the Black experience, why the Black life is important. And I think that's where we're at the crossroads right now is, we've been around the times of Black Lives Matter. Okay, well, let's start looking at how we can help better Black lives, because we know Black lives are not where they should necessarily be. The quality of life for a Black person is not equivalent to a white person per se. I had a friend that asked me, he said, JD, when do we know this? When it's enough? And I said, what enough? He's like, when do we know racism is eradicated and gone? I said, when the outcomes of an individual, when a person's outcomes is not determined by their race. That is the place that we're going. When we get to that place, that is how we know racism is virtually eliminated. And so right now we have to make sure that we're looking and addressing. So I think that's another part of Black History Month, is addressing where we're at and looking and taking assessment of how we can continue to better the Black life experience, because we know it's not fair, it's not equal. We've seen what has happened with different figures. Colin Kaepernick, for instance, he's not a bad athlete. He's not the best in the NFL, but he sure isn't bad. And so the fact that he has not been able to have a job because of his protests, I think that says something about where we are at and how we address the issues of advancing Black life in this country. So I think it's also time to assess and realize we got more work to do. Like I said, this might sound cliche, it might sound cheesy, but really it's like the way I was raised by my parents and my grandparents and my pastor, my church, just the people that raised me, is always, service has been an important thing. And I just don't feel like I would have any fulfillment in life if I was not serving others. I just feel like life would be pointless. Quite frankly, it just wouldn't have a purpose. So getting to know people and understand them and hear their stories and their perspectives and be able to share my own personal story and to hear theirs and to get to know people and create relationships and bonds and out of goodwill and growth, I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think it's how we can better serve others. I think our communal purpose as human beings on this earth is service to others for the good of all. That's the only reason any of us are here. I really believe that. And you can subscribe to any type of faith or religion, but I really believe that is the sole reason all of us are here. And so I just want to serve others. But I can't do that unless I know what others are facing, the challenges they're facing, or how they may be suffering, or how we can better collaborate or work together to fix these issues, to get to a point of resolution and solution, and make sure we're picking the right minds and who has to get to the right place. So, and I just love people. I mean, I do. I'm an introvert, so I do have my limits. So people wouldn't believe that, but I do have my limits sometimes. I get exhausted talking to people, but it's still, from my heart, it really is always fulfilling. And what I'm doing for Valentine's Day, and so this, I guess, goes with it. One of my good friends, I called him the other day, and I said, what are you and your wife doing for Valentine's Day? So what you doing for your lady? And he said, oh, I don't think we're doing anything. And they have a young son, he's 1.5, and so they're not really doing anything. I said, you're not doing anything? Come on, treat your girl or something. I said, you know what? I said, you know what? I'm single. I don't have any plans. Let me do this. I haven't seen you in a good minute. Let me come over. I'll cook you all dinner, and we'll have a good time. And so that's what we're doing for Valentine's Day. I'm cooking breakfast, French toast, eggs, hash browns. We're gonna go all out and maybe have a few mimosas together. And so just celebrating friends and life. And I think, like I said, Valentine's Day doesn't always have to be about romantic love. I think it's just a great day to remember that love is important. Love is what makes the world go around, and love just makes us stronger. So.